What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Scale News Update. If you're not familiar with the show, this is where we talk about the news topics that happened in the scale world of RC over the past week. This has been a fairly busy week. We'll jump into this week's topics. For those of you who want to put tracks on your TRX4, the Traxxas Trax kit is finally available. It's a lot of I mean, in reality, how did it take so long for Traxxas to come out with tracks? Like, seems like an obvious one. But some of the reviewers have got them this week. Starting to see some unboxings, some videos. Traxxas put out their official running video. It looks like a pretty well engineered system from the outside looking in. Of course, time will tell how durability and things like that really are with it long term. And of course, there's a number of warnings on the box. It says use low gear only, lock your differentials, and for 2S only use. So there's definitely some restrictions that you should be looking at when using them. It's probably not a product you should be looking at if you've already got your TRX4 converted to brushless and you like to do a little high-speed running. They're very large tracks. It does raise the vehicle up a decent amount. It does use a small shock on there for the dampening of the actual rotation of the tracks, which is a nice feature. There is a tension adjustment to make sure that the tracks are held on there well, and it uses bushings rather than bearings on all of the roller wheels along there. And that may seem like an odd choice, but these are probably going to be used in situations where they're in snow or mud mainly. And this is a surface that would be very close to the ground where it's almost always going to be in that nasty condition. So using a bushing rather than a bearing, probably the best choice for this product. But if you are interested, I'll put the links to where you can buy them or pre-order them in the description below. Last week, a new light kit was announced from Mad NGH. Now, this is probably one of the more advanced and developed light kits I've ever seen. This was built to fit in the Vanquish VS410, or specifically the front and rear light pods that those use. Of course, you could probably retrofit it to other situations, but that's what it was initially designed for. And this thing has some beautifully designed light pods and circuit boards, and the light controller is controlled via a touch sensor that you put underneath of the body, specifically the hood, and then you touch on top of the hood to control it. It's just something that's way outside the box and super cool to see, and overall just something that looks like a really well designed and engineered light kit. So if you have a VS410 specifically, I'll put a link to where you can buy this in the description below. Priced at around 60 bucks, it's definitely something that's worth looking into. RC4WD announced a new version of their Grande 2. This one is called the RC4WD Collector's Edition Grande 2 Long Wheelbase D110 RTR. Really long name. Overall, this basically looks like the Grande 2 Ready to Run package with maybe just a few extra scale things added on, some side window screens and a roof rack and a bumper maybe. Overall, not a lot different, maybe some different tires and shocks, but they're not that much different than what came on there. So if you liked this kit before but it kind of held out, maybe this is your excuse to pick it up though. I'll put a link to that release information in the description below as well. And speaking of things with really long names, the new FTX Outback Fury Extreme Roller was also officially announced. We saw some early pictures of this at the China Hobby Expo, but without a whole lot of details. We finally got to see some details on it. Overall, it's got a flat plate carbon fiber chassis rail, so not super scale there. It does have chassis mounted servo, and it's got a lot of aluminum parts for like shock towers, the transmission, C-hubs, and knuckles, which is nice. But it does have that chassis mounted servo with panhard and a 4-link suspension. It's just kind of one of those things that shows just because you can build it doesn't mean you understand it fully. It's not the proper way to set up a chassis mounted servo. That rarely stops them. It does have a Jeep Brute style looking body, single cab with a truck bed, and then it kind of has an adventure or an expedition style rack for it with a working LED bar across the top, and it has the angriest of grills on it. Wish that trend would go away. Then we had a new body release from Killerbody called the Marauder 2. Now they're definitely called Killerbody and not Killer Cage for a reason, I'd say. They put a regular cage or roll cage or roll bar, however you want to refer to it, on top of this body, and it is the busiest looking roll bar assembly I've ever seen. Killerbody makes some really good, that LC70 body they have looks amazing. They've got some other ones that are just really well done. So I mean, they've done nice stuff. This one I do not find to be an excellent example of that though. This is just odd looking. Offhand, I can't think of another example of a rear cage or roll bar setup that looked worse out of the box. If you can think of one, comment it below, but I can't think of anything that's come out that has a worse looking rear cage than this. And for our last story of the week, Zia Scale Nationals was last week, and I didn't really hear much. There wasn't a lot being posted about it. I just didn't see much coverage. So when I did hear is that Akaika, owner of the crawl space, swept all 3 classes, class 1, 2, and 3, just dominated. And then with a ballsy move, he took this photo. Had to be one of the funniest things I've seen on the internet this year so far. So first of all, congratulations to Akaika. I'm sure that was an impressive display. There was definitely a lot of high-class drivers down there. So again, congratulations on that. And I think you won the internet last week. During my Thanksgiving break last year on the road trip from Sacramento to Kansas City, I did stop by the crawl space and did a little shop tour, and I'll post the link to that video in the description below. And I'll also post a link to the crawl space's website or social media sites, wherever, just so you guys can check them out. But that's gonna wrap up the news for this week. So hope you guys have an awesome rest of the week. Thanks for watching as always. Click the like button if you enjoy these videos. Subscribe if you're not already. Hit the notification bell so you can see these videos as soon as they pop up. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.